Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. I am Violet De Ayala, the founder of FemCity, and you're joining me today for our Monday Motivational series. We were in the green room having a great time. We forgot to come over live. So I am so excited for today's conversation. We're going to keep on talking about wealth and mindset. Our intention is to give you guys everything we have to kick off 2021. We're at the end of January, so technically we can't be saying like happy 2021 anymore, but I love it. I think we should say it until like March. I think like March should roll. We'll be saying that, like happy 2021, Jenna.
Quarter one. We can say it all day long. Quarter one.
All day long.
I've been saying happy 21st. It somehow sounds exciting.
That does sound exciting.
Right.
Yeah, so we're excited for you guys to join us. Feel free to engage in the conversation if you have any questions or if you want to send extra love. We're here. If you're watching this in the library later on or on YouTube or on our fan page on Facebook, feel free to tag and you can continue having that conversation with us. We want you guys to have a really great 2021. So today we're going to dive in a little bit more when it comes to mindset. For our panelists today, all of these wonderful women, we have Giselle, Jena, and Laurie. They're going to kind of share a little bit about who they are. Giselle is one of our FemCity directors, global member. She's a good friend of mine. We've traveled quite a bit. She's someone, I don't know if you want to take on every trip because that video is always on and she's always recording every moment.
Note to self.
Every moment. Yeah. If you're in the shower and you open up the door, you might want to have a towel on because that video might be going on and she just wants to capture every moment of our trip. That's that girl. Anyway, Giselle, share a little bit about who you are for those femmes that may not know who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's all true. It's all true. If you travel with me, there is a disclaimer. Yeah, you might want to wear lipstick. I'm just saying. Yeah, so I am Giselle. I am a branding coach. My passion is to extract your magic. That's my passion, is to extract your magic and connect it to those who just don't know you exist. And I do it. I've been doing it for a very long time through being a publicist and then, kind of finally recovering to do what I absolutely love, which is small business. I love to help the late adapter, the start over, and the startup. Yeah.
Love it.
That's me.
Jena is also one of our FemCity Global members. We've been friends for, I'm going to say 150 years. It's
great.
And what I love most about Jena is I just wrote a testimonial for her website and it was so easy to write. Jena, what I love most about you is when you share always so vulnerably and you are talented in making complicated topics really simple in the way that you approach and you verbalize that. So I think that's one of your superhero talents. Do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yes. And I have to say, I grabbed your verbal testimonial of one of our last classes, and I was like, I stuck it in my speaker reel. You were so eloquent, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love you. So yeah, thank you. I just always adore you, and it's great to be here with you, ladies, and get to know you as well. And so my title is Transformational Mentor, Emotional Scientist, and the Growth Strategist, among other things. So I used to be in brand strategy. So I get you, Giselle, and that's definitely something I love. But I really am passionate now about helping people with that 90% that really goes on, that keeps us playing small and holding us back from being our brand, being the best business owner, having everything we want in our life. And I just am committed to helping people improve and master their emotional strength. So so that's what I'm up to.
Love it. Last but not least, Laurie Hunt. Laurie Hunt is also one of our FemCity Global members. What I love most about Laurie is she is someone who is heart-centered all the time, always giving 120% of what she has to better the world. Laurie, I think you are beyond inspirational. I don't think you realize your impact in the world, tracking through remote places in the world. I mean, pushing the limits of a physical body, what you can do. You are really one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. So I'm so happy you're joining with our mindset conversation today. So can you share a little bit about yourself?
Well, with that intro, I am the founder of the More In Me movement because we all have more in us. We can make the inconceivable real. And my goal is to get you moving, literally, towards possibility. And I bring in, I became who I am through my athletic endeavors. I mean, I spent the first 20 years in a corporate job in the tech industry, mundane, not too exciting, but somewhere in there, the chubby smoking party girl found running. And by taking on incrementally larger goals that were beyond what I could believe, I came to realize that there's the head way of doing things. And I totally believe, in mindset and how important it is. But sometimes the body can lead the mind too. And when we really pay attention to our daily practices to shift our mood, move our body, expand our mind, that's how we connect in our heart center, because in there, anything's possible. So we just have to get through the clutter. So that's what I do with
Love it. Thank you so much. So all of you, the reason why I thought of you guys for this discussion is I know you all personally, and you guys have made huge shifts in your life from one to the other, huge mindset shifts from when I've known you guys. And so I think it's great for all of us to be together, for those that are struggling with their mindset when it comes to not only money, but everything in their life. And so that's my intention, asking you guys to come, because I love you, but also I think you guys are really great illustrations of what is possible, regardless of what you were given. Anything is possible in life based on your mindset. And so my first question for the panel is, how does mindset play into your success? And you can, when I'm asking that question, it can be from the ground up, as I've seen you guys grow, or it can be where your current state is right now. How does mindset play into that? And we'll go Giselle, Jena, and Laurie. Giselle?
Yeah, absolutely. Mindset is everything. Absolutely everything. I know that, in my career, I've always been good at making things happen. I have a strong mindset when it comes to work, but I never really realized the limiting beliefs that were within me, because I always felt I kept hitting a glass ceiling. And there was a really poignant moment that I had a conversation with you. And I always love saying this, because what was weighing me down was when we compartmentalize, when we think that we're doing ourselves a favor by going, you know what, I'll deal with it later. You're not dealing with it at all. And it's keeping you from growing. One of those things for me was my finances. My husband had been running for Congress. My son had gotten in some trouble, and everything at the same time was piling on. And guess who was going to make everything happen? Because I make things happen, was me. Well, it got us into a lot of debt. And even though I was moving and going and I had success, I wasn't able to scale or build. And then I had a conversation with Violet, and Violet was very clear on, you have to face it, and you've got to do it. And then you shared your story with me. Well, fast forward with taking that advice and actually making a reality for everything. Laurie, it's kind of crazy, because I had gained 40 pounds during that time as well. Like everything, when you're not happy, but you're still going, you're going to put that smile on your face, like everything, there's other things that are just like sucking the life out of you. One was finances. The other was my weight. I was so heavy. Fast forward, every single morning, I wake up with intention, mindset. What is my intention for today? Today, I will release what limits me. I will believe in everything that I'm doing is setting me up for success. I will allow that abundance it's there for all of us. I am not special, but you have to allow it in. And then I am ready to receive. I say this every single day, and there are limiting things happening every single day. It could be a conversation that didn't feel good. It could be, that coaching session, it didn't go as well. Whatever it is, you've got to release it. Can you do better? You can't, then you've got to let it go. Can you do better? Go do better.
Love it. And you have love coming in from Dayla, who says, mindset is everything. So true. About learning more and more what to set my mind on. And I love that you use that example. By the way, I remember that moment in that hotel.
It was everything.
Yesterday. Yeah. And
I'm debt free, everybody. And I'm 40 pounds lighter.
Love it. Love it.
Yippee.
Also the greatness of sharing our own stories. You know, like we sometimes appear so like untarnished and so, you know, successful and perfect. And the truth is when we share our stories, and I remember when you first shared that, you were really nervous and very uncomfortable. And there's that whole judgment of
I felt like a failure.
Yeah, you felt like a failure. And now look, you're using it to help others and you shine. I mean, it's really incredible what mindset can do when you shift from, and I say the bottom up, that's not, you don't have to hit rock bottom. You can just be here and then have those mindset
and stay here.
And stay here.
And stay here.
Which is a whole other, yes, I think we'll get into that. Yeah. Jenna, anything you want to add?
Yeah, certainly I agree with what you said, and I have a similar story. I'm still in the health journey, but I've packed on 90 pounds, so I'm down about half of that, and you know, and it's still a process, but it is, you know, it's and I was the same where I was always, it's like, I think part of you know, part of what we do is we focus on what we know and we focus on what we feel like we're really good at so we can stay validated and stay, you know, in our self-worth. And I was doing that by being really busy and being the perfectionist and being the control freak. And, you know, and it's like, I got this, I can do this, but then my, you know, health or finances or whatever might be suffering. And so I can relate to what was already said. And I think, you know, of course, I speak mindset, but more importantly, I speak emotion set, right? It's like when we're not dealing with what's underneath the surface, it just shows up as a pattern somewhere else. And I think what, you know, Giselle said, is like being honest. And I've had to get really honest and truthful and real with myself many times, and I continue to do so. I'm having some ups and downs even now, and it's like, it's hard to say that, but it's like, it's what it is. And I also believe that everything's happening in my favor. Last year was a very confronting year for me. I actually found like it revealed itself finally that I actually had some PTSD around financial pain and financial struggle in my childhood. You know, at 8 years old, I went from like, you know, the suburban 5-bedroom house to, I mean, in a split second, all of it taken away, foreclosure, bankruptcy, divorce, all of that, like all at once. But an 8-year-old doesn't comprehend what's happening. Like, oh, this is a good thing. My parents are getting divorced. And I realized last year that when I would come up against a financial challenge, I physically felt it. Like that's the energy stuck in my body. And so I'm just saying that, you know, it's a continuum of emotional work and mindset work and being willing to kind of like hit those walls so that you can actually heal and release. And I'm like super grateful. I found that. I recognized that for the first time in that way. I know I've struggled with limiting beliefs. I know, and I've worked on those, but I think when people are like, man, I've worked on that. Why am I not getting somewhere that I want to get? And I'm like, there's just more. There's just more work. And sometimes I think there's something stuck that we haven't yet seen. And so you got to be willing to look at those shadows. And I'm the first to look. It's painful sometimes, you know, raise my hand. But I feel like that is part of the, you know, mindset work is actually the emotional work so that you can reset your mind. You know, we can try to, I wrote this, I was interviewed and they said, you know, what's the conversation in the industry or in the expertise that I have? And I said, well, a lot of people just say, think positive. And I'm like, yeah, that's great for the nanosecond, but it's like, it's not permanent unless you've healed the emotional pattern underneath. And so, you know, and so I feel like when we do that emotional work, then the mindset actually gets easier to change because we definitely have to take inventory of it every morning. Like Giselle said, I have a process, I have a routine, I'm visualizing, I'm doing all that. But if you've got the emotional stuff stuck, it just repeats a pattern. So that's kind of a little bit of my story as well. Yeah.
I love how liberating it is for others that are watching to recognize that you can get to a certain level and feel like I'm fixed. right? Because that's also
Nope.
read a book or they watch a TED Talk or they go to a conference and then they're like, boom, I'm fixed.
Right.
Now I'm going to be a bazillionaire. And the truth is that you uncover these layers, and as you elevate, there's then a whole other pocket that you were like, wait, what? You were over there all this time? Like these narratives, these self-limiting beliefs. And so it is a journey. It is an ongoing evolution that all humans have to take on. But I think that we can do better as a community to share the truth on that versus like when I see those messages, whether it's a Facebook ad or a book, like this is going to fix you. You read this and you're fixed. Then it almost becomes like an anxiety driven because you finish the book and then you're like, okay, one day was better, but now I'm back into this, that if you realize it's an evolution, it's a practice, it's a journey. Every day you just do better. As Giselle said, you do better when you can do better and strive. That's the truth of it. That I think if we focus on that, it liberates others and it gives them more grace in the way that they're dealing with their own self-limiting thoughts and their mindset. Laurie, do you want to add anything to that?
I love what both Giselle and Jena and you have said. And I just realized this was totally not intentional, but look at my teacup. You're
your best.
I love that teacup.
It just attracted my attention this morning. Yeah. And it's really cool inside. You see it's got.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love the polka dots.
I can't really flip it or we'll have tea all over. But that's why I get so excited about daily practices. What all of you have said, this idea that there's nowhere to get to. It's just today. Yep. And what's today going to be? And what are you going to choose for today? And to be okay with what you choose. And did you, do your best? And I was thinking, as I was, preparing for this, that line that's become really popular, done is better than perfect. And why that's so powerful, I think, is because it gets us past the not good enough. So I grew up in a home, very male-dominated, patriarchal environment where nothing was ever good enough. And I was forever criticized. So the weight of that, and you've shared that too, Jena and Giselle, that we wear the weight of that, and it attaches physically to our body, and that sense of feeling good enough, it lives in, or not good enough or not good enough, it lives in our muscles, in our nervous system, and it shows up, and we can see, even in how we're sitting. And I've become a real, yoga is a daily practice for me because it starts me connecting to myself on a physical, spiritual, mental level, and as I was getting off my yoga mat this morning, I thought, I feel good today. And I hadn't been on my yoga mat actually at all yesterday, which is, I just, didn't. But this idea that to really raise our awareness and think of life as an experiment or a research project into possibility. What's possible today? What's possible in the next minute? And knowing that who I was yesterday or this morning is not who I'm going to be this afternoon. And so, we get to begin again and again and again.
Love that.
Love
so
it.
Beautiful.
Yep.
All right. So the next question is, because I know some femmes, and by the way, Dayla says, Laurie says, hey, hello, beauties. Hello, Laurie. And Dayla says, woo, big fact, Jena, not tending to those emotions doesn't just go away. Way to go on shedding half of that weight as well.
Thank you.
Like a little love there too. So some femmes might be going, okay, that's great. What kind of mindset should I have? So I've been listening to mindset, blah, blah, blah. What kind of mindset should I have? Because you read all these books, but then no one tells you like what it should be. So what would you tell that femme who's asking, okay, so what kind of mindset should I be having? I think you touched upon it. Hint, you touched upon it already. So, but I just want to elaborate a little bit more for those that are just starting to get into that place.
I really want to stress to everyone that it's within each and every one of us, which means you've got to tap into what your truth is. And that means it's not about what others need from you or want from you or define you as or expect from you. Like it is what is in you. So what should your mindset be? You should be unapologetically accepting, like you should love yourself unapologetically. Like you should wake up and immediately my eyes open in the morning and I thank God. Like you can thank whoever you'd like, but there is a higher being. That's why we exist. And you have to thank, like we woke up for a new day, a new opportunity. Like think about how exciting that is. And then you've got to do things that are ritualistic. For me, because it is about mindset, but things can trigger you to go in a whole other direction because you stubbed your toe or because the coffee fell on you, or like the most ridiculous things change and shift our day. Don't allow that to happen. My day, I wake up, I break a sweat, then I meditate, and then I meditate some more if I need it. And I meditate until my vibration's high, because I might have had a heavy day the day before. So I make sure that I do not start my day until my mind is right, which means I'm excited about the day. That you have to be enthusiastic about life, or then your mindset will take over, and it will scientifically, we go into protecting ourselves, which means we're judging everything. It's like, what could limit us? What could hurt us? We've got to change that by being intentional. And that's the only way to do it.
Jena, something that you mentioned that just touched upon what Giselle was saying, and I think I'm going to say it in different words than you did, but in essence, you go into life knowing that the universe is on your side. Like that things are going to be in your favor. And you even mentioned like the challenges that you had in 2020. I love that you shared it. It was all for the betterment of Jena. So I love that. Looking at those moments that perhaps are really immense challenges, but looking at it and saying it's in my favor. It's still going to work for me. So anything you want to add to that with the question?
Yeah, it's definitely an addition to what was just said. And I agree. And that was one of the things I was going to anchor, is that if the smallest thing you can do is, and you're in the challenge, you're in the negative chat pattern, you're talking to yourself and it's not so great, is to turn it around immediately and say, this is in my favor. Something better is happening. And it's so funny. I picked up a new hobby called day trading, and Violet knows this, but and I was chatting with one of the other day traders in my forum that I'm in, and she reached out. She's like, man, how do I stop, letting myself, not get out of the trade, blah, blah, blah. I won't go into details, but the point was, the answer is the same. The answer is find out what you're fearful of, right? So it doesn't matter the topic. It's like, be willing to look at what you are either fearing, worrying about, hesitating, procrastinating around, avoiding, all of those questions. And then when it's not going in your favor, or meaning that's what it looks like, it's not going in your direction, it's reminding yourself in that minute, in that second, that there's a reason for this, and it's in my favor, and there's something better coming. Right. So sometimes, we struggle, I think, a lot because we assume that this is the only thing that, this is the only way, the only outcome that this situation can have that's going to be okay for me. Right. And yet we can't see that what we can actually gain if we just, relax and step back. And so I think that's one is certainly reframing, going, this is in my favor. Everything is, universe got my back, right? That conversation. And then I talk a lot about the ego tricks that we play, and being able to be discerning about your egoic mind versus your higher self mind, your truth, as Giselle said, that part of us that knows what we want and what's right for us in the moment. And I always add right now, like to that conversation, like what's right for me right now, because what was right for me a year ago probably doesn't apply. And I think we get stuck in the pattern of like, well, I should be the way I was a year ago, or I should be doing this because I committed to it 6 months ago. And I said, well, what if we reassess it today and go, is that right for me right now? Because as Laurie said, we're a new person every day. We're expanding every single minute. And by the end of the day, we have a whole new level of awareness, hopefully, if we're paying attention. So that would be my second thing, is to start discerning between your ego mind and your higher self. Of course, I use the ego tricks, which is one of my tools to figure out, like, am I in my ego mind or am I in my higher self? And being able to ask myself that question. And I do it through meditation. I do it through getting quiet. It's like, what's right for me right now? So that's what I would add. And there's so much more, but I'll stop there for time's sake. Uh-oh. Did she freeze?
I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah, we can hear you. There you are.
Sorry. Yeah. I knew it was going to freeze because it kept flipping out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like flickering like this. So just stay with us, tech gods. So an anonymous Facebook user says, I can't say the name, daily practices sets your day. So going back to what Laurie had mentioned, Julieta says, great discussion.
Yay.
Jill says, things are happening for you, not to you. Got to work on a positive mindset. And then Rain Patricia says, Jena, so amazing. There's so much power in letting go. I have to say, every time things didn't go my way, perceivingly, it was always better. There was always something better on the horizon. And then looking back, maybe it took 2 years, but looking back, you'd go, oh, that's why.
That's why.
So I could be here in this moment. For Laurie, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. When it comes to mindset, we're talking about growth mindset and possibility. And I guess for people to know that it's like a continuum, and at one end is a fixed mindset and at the other end is a growth mindset. And a growth mindset is the idea that you can learn and possibility and you can figure it out and you've got what it takes. And a fixed mindset is more, you're kind of stuck with what you've got. So you've got to excel with what you've got. And we're brought up or kind of born into these ways of thinking. So not to feel bad or wrong if you're stuck, and there's often a lot of fear, but just to find, and it may be different in different areas of your life. So you may be really bold and courageous in some aspects and not so much in other aspects. So you can draw on your strengths in one place and apply it in other places. And what I always say is practice courage every day. Do one little tiny thing to get you, because, there's a quote. I don't know if anyone ever watched Dawson's Creek back in the day, but Joey's teacher said something like, if we can get comfortable in the discomfort of not knowing, we can learn anything. And I thought that was so powerful, because that's what we need to do. That's what it's all about. Not having to know it all, not having to be perfect, but believing in ourselves that we're enough, that we can figure it out, that we can make it happen. And if we're feeling more on that end of the fixed edge of mindset, just find one little thing you can do. And maybe let's take something like, being more active, getting more exercise. Stand up and move during a commercial on TV, or go for a walk, or just walk 1 block, do little things, and then just see what happens. If it's whatever it is. There was a really great quote I came across by Nathaniel Brandon. He was all about self-esteem, and he says, if my aim is to prove I am enough, the project goes on to infinity, because the battle was already lost on the day I conceded the issue was debatable.
Love that.
Yeah. So, just when you think about mindset, it's just know that you're enough, no matter what. You can figure it out. You've got what it takes. You may have to go learn something, go to other people and get help, find community, whatever the case may be. That's why we all love Violet so much, because she's, providing that for us. But it's up to us to, take action, to come on a panel and get a little uncomfortable,
Love that. And I love, by the way, that you pulled a quote from Dawson's Creek. Like,
I don't remember.
I love that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, that was so amazing.
You must have watched it on Netflix recently. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, how do you remember?
No, because I thought it was so great when I heard it. I wrote it down and then I went online and I even have the date of the episode that it was in that quote.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. I can't remember yesterday. And you're saying Dawson's Creek.
Wow.
Oh my God. Actually, yeah, there's more love that came through. Sarah said I did. Patricia says, I love Dawson's Creek. Marcia. And then Randy Anderson says, love that. Getting comfortable in the discomfort of not knowing. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. And then Nicole Bolden. Yes, I used to love Dawson's Creek.
Yay!
What a throwback. All right. So my last question before we start wrapping it up, what would you say to the femme that says, you know what, I got my mindset on and then something happened and I got knocked out. Like I lost it. I know my mindset's there for me to come into my greatness, to acquire my dreams, to go after it. But how do I stay connected to a mindset? Specifically, I think when we're coming off 2020, 2021 already looks better. You know, it's got different vibe for sure. So what would your advice be to someone who's looking at finding that? And a couple of you have mentioned already, like the daily practice, being intentional, Giselle said, Jena also being open to diving in and seeing where those little stories might be holding. But anything you want to add to that to inspire those femmes that are really trying to find that middle place of getting that mindset so it's intact so they can conquer the world in a great way. Giselle, Jena, and then Laurie.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just sit still and ask yourself, is this true? So when anything that pops into your head, like, God, am I capable? Can I really do this? I want you to sit still and ask yourself, I mean, are you capable? And think about everything you've done. What did you do yesterday that you were able to show up and impact someone? What did you do this week? What have you done in your life? Like, remind yourself why you are good at what you do. Sometimes you have to list in your head the accomplishments you've made, especially on how you impacted others. If you've served someone and they've said, thank you for whatever it may be, or thank you for that post, you inspired me today, or there are always those moments that you changed someone's life, either with a smile, you made them feel good, or you put yourself out there. And as Laurie said, you were courageous. Like you did something that was uncomfortable, but you did it because you wanted to better someone. I want you need to sit and just think about that moment, because that is who you are and you are capable. And so we just got to remind ourselves sometimes, and sometimes it's just asking the question. I mean, is that really true? Like that you aren't capable, that you aren't worthy? I mean, come on. And so, and that's kind of how I do it, because it happens. It creeps up. Imposter syndrome, like doubts, it creeps up. Just because it's just, I think, human nature, unfortunately.
Absolutely. We did an exercise together as a FemCity community, and I created a worksheet to close out 2020 and the energies, and then welcome 2021. And one of the activities was to create all the great things you did in 2020, like just focus on all the great things that you stepped into courageous moments, like Laurie said. And that it's free, by the way. You don't have to be a member. We have it on the website under the holiday gift for you. But you can download it. It's a great exercise, because when you're having those wonky moments, it's a list that you can go back to and say, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit upside down right now. Perhaps I'm not feeling so worthy or so loved, but you can look back at something where you have it all noted, the 50 ways you showed up, where you were brave, using Jena's term, you stepped into your bravery, or where you were courageous. Then it pulls you into, oh yeah, I accomplished 50 amazing things in 2020. So therefore, I am capable today. So I love that you mentioned like listing that out, because it serves as a factual reminder. Because when we're in that moment, we are so like loving all that self-pity. We are so into that it's hard to pull ourselves out. But if we had like a little love note that we wrote ourselves, where we can be like, oh, here's a love note that I wrote myself. Wow, I did all these things in 2020. I am amazing. And this self-pity party, I'm done. I'm going to move on.
I think it's really important, just real quick, to do that weekly. So I do it every Sunday. I write it every Sunday. Okay, how was your week? What did you do that was amazing? Who did you impact? Like in detail, like, because that's what we're about. We want to be of service, right? You have to remind yourself, because it's so easy to think about the things that sucked, and so hard to think about the things that were amazing. So yeah, I do it weekly.
So we have we opened I created a downloadable daily planner, a weekly planner for FemCity members, and literally on it, on the right hand side, it says your wins. So every day it has a little space, and you can print it up once a week. We have a new February one coming out next week. But there's a place where you have to fill it out. So every day you have to write down your win, whatever it was, whether it was like getting up and showering and getting on Facebook Live, or doing, calling that client that makes me super nervous, like whatever it is. But if you write it down, it does help you to focus on the areas that you are winning in your life. Jena, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just noticed how pink my lipstick is, so that was distracting. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
It looks red. It's pink.
It's pink.
I think it looks amazing.
I think it looks amazing. Yeah, I don't think it's pink.
It's pink. It's Pink and Red Day. We're in the mood for Valentine's coming up. So fact versus fiction, I think is great. What you guys are talking about, I just want to anchor that. It's like really elevating our self-awareness of what's actually factual and making these brag lists, or I make a brag box. I'm like, anytime I get good positive feedback, or I go read that stuff, I'm like Violet's beautiful testimonial. I'm like, I'm going to stick that in my brag box, and because it's so easy to focus on the not so good or negative or whatever, where the ego, in my mind, the ego's taken over. And it is very human, as Giselle said, for the egoic self to completely knock us off our game. I always talk about hijacking our momentum. And so I just want to leave with what I call my detachment method. It's one of my other tools. There's 7 steps. I'm just going to give the first couple. So to answer your question about what can someone do if you're knocked off your game and you're not in the right mindset, is stop and say, step 1, identify the attachment. I believe all struggle basically boils down to some form of attachment. And that attachment can look like resistance, of course, an expectation of self or others, so that you're like hooked on that outcome. And then it can be a fear. It can be some kind of worry that's going on. And so the very first step I always say is identify the attachment. And because that is the way, that's how the attachment is how the ego keeps us safe. It's like, if I can hold on to this, then I'm okay. And so it's a belief. It can be an expectation. It can be a thing. It can be a person. It can be a relationship. It can be anything you're attached to, and you have not surrendered up and said, this is free to go away, right? Then you're attached, and or the ego is attached. So I say identify that attachment. And then number 2, unpack the resistance. What is the worst that could happen? Because our mind is so smart that it's like, it's already like avoiding the worst case scenario, and you're not even consciously thinking of it. You're not there. You're not in the worst case scenario, but it is unconsciously present, in my experience. So I always say unpack the resistance at its deepest level, meaning, okay, if this is my fear, if this is my expectation, what is it that I'm actually really worried about? And what is it that is the worst that could happen if I don't get my way, or it doesn't go my direction, or whatever it is that I'm thinking negatively about? And then the third step, and sometimes one of the hardest, is the allowance, is actually going, okay, if that's the worst that could happen, and then you fact check it, because it's probably not real, right? It's completely an illusion. It's not there. It's not happening. You're actually not evicted from your part, whatever the fear is. You're not living on the street, and allow just the willingness for it to be true. Even though it's not true, it's like the willingness is how you trick your ego into going, oh, okay, my bad. I'm not actually on the street, or whatever the biggest fear that could possibly be there, right? Just paint the ugliest picture, because that's what your ego is trying to keep you from. It's the little child that's like, I don't want that. I want to run from that. So those are the first 3. Again, there's like, 7 total, to really process through the entire detachment process. But those get me far. Those take me to the next, like, okay, let's recheck here. This is not real. This is not actually happening. And maybe some emotions will come up. That's okay. That's the healing, and bringing it out of your body. And that's where I start. So hopefully that was helpful.
Totally.
Thanks. It was awesome. I just read a comment.
Well, it is awesome.
It was awesome. That's all that's important.
What was that? It was like the dress that was like purple, or is it pink? Remember that whole thing that was, whether it was a dress, I don't know, some I can't remember anything. But anyway, go into those debates. Was it pink? Was it purple? Was it red?
Oh, God.
We'll go viral now. Laurie, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. So there's two states that we have, and one is constriction and one is expansion. And that can be in your mind or in your body. And the mind can lead the body and the body can lead the mind. So we've heard some great ideas around how to, position our thinking. But another way to do it is to embody it, embody expansion. So, what's your power pose? Like, stand up, shoulders back, crown lifted, smile on your face, breathe down into your belly. One of my favorite things, recommendations is in yoga, there's the posture Tadasana where you're just standing, and I've converted it a little bit, but every time you mess up, you go, ta-da! Have fun with it. It's like, oh, I did that thing again. I said I was never going to do it. I totally blew that thing. And you learn. And that's how you get into a growth mindset. But we have to be able to, have that kindness and compassion with ourselves. In running, one of my running coaches always said, always remember your form. Because it affects how we move through space, our energy, and everything as far as our performance. And I think that's the same too. Sometimes we just need to physically embody that feeling of confidence and whatever. So I like to use tada because it makes me smile. And then another quick one that I read in a really great book called Faith by Sharon Salzberg, who's a renowned Buddhist teacher. So out of the Buddhist teaching, a straw, or you can just do it with your hand. But, if we look up at the sky is especially great through our hand or through a straw, there's so little that we can see. And sometimes our beliefs and our thinking are really narrow and constricted. And when we take it away, so if you do that and you take it away and it's like, wow, all that possibility. So those are a couple ways to help shift, on a engaging sort of mind, body, and spirit in that activity. But I really like the straw one. And if you go outside, it's especially good because, you see this tiny little piece of sky, maybe the corner of a cloud or a tree or something, but you take it away and it's like, wow. Okay, so that was one view, one perspective, one idea. I really think we can use our bodies more to embody what we want and to pay attention to say, oh, I'm feeling constricted. Our energy goes down. I always notice something's up when my energy drops. And I've, got to the point where I've become pretty aware and I notice it and I'll say, whoa, what just happened? And then I can, start to think through what happened the moment that shift. Like, what did I think? What did I hear? What did I read? What did I make up? And that's the other thing. It's all made up. It's all stories, right? We make it all up. So just tell a different story. But if we can catch ourselves in the moment that it happens and be wildly fascinated with, whoa, and that's where
yeah. I find that the triggers, I love the tada. And I love the analogy of the straw. That was amazing. Yeah. And a Facebook user said the same thing. Great analogy, power poses. And yes, healing is messy from another Facebook comment. Yeah, those triggers. I have gotten better and better at those triggers. Those triggers used to really knock me down for a couple hours years and years ago. And now it's like when you feel your energy, just like you said, Laurie, I think that's so incredibly powerful. All right, let's go ahead and close out. If you guys have any questions, those that are joining us, whether you're listening to this in our app later on or on YouTube, however, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to tag us or comment. Giselle, how can Fems find you to learn more about the work that you're doing in this world?
Thank you. My favorite place to hang out is Instagram. You can find me at The Branding Professor. I answer all my messages. I reply to everybody because I love, love, love my community. And I'm there for you. Whatever you need, just send me a message.
Love it. Jena Rodriguez, how can Fems learn more about the work you're doing?
Yes, I even added it to the screen, right? Bravemasters.com there. And you can download, you can actually take a quiz that helps you kind of identify what's going on with the egoic behavior and patterns. And once you do that, then you actually get access to the ego tricks and the detachment method. And so everything's on my website. I think that's the easiest way. And of course, social media, you can find me, Jena Rodriguez. So yeah, please connect and check out the quiz and the resources and all these tools that I've mentioned. That's how I, like Violet started out, mentioning, I love simplifying and creating strategy around it. So that's just like, put it on your refrigerator. It's easy to see and you can outsmart your ego. So that's my intention. Thanks for having me. This is a great convo.
I know, I love it. And Laurie, you had some love that came through. So someone commented, I'm so glad you're bringing the magic of yoga awareness, Laurie. I love using mind-body interventions in my practice. And we also had some love. Thank you so much, lovely ladies, from another Facebook user. And then Dana says, thank you so much, Jena, Laurie, and Giselle, and Violet. Laurie, how can femmes learn more about you as well and the work that you're doing in this world?
On my website at lauriehunt.com, and there are a couple of free online courses. There's one I put up there on simple practices to manage your mood that includes some 1-minute mood shifters. So you'll find that under online courses, and then on social media, either Laurie Hunt or the More in Me movement on the various different platforms.
Love it. In addition to all of that, all of these women have actually taught FemCity classes. So if you feel connected to one or all, you can go ahead and search in our FemCity library for classes that they've led. Most of you guys have done mindset work. I know Giselle does more of the Instagram and social media stuff, but there's a lot of great content in there that was produced by these amazing women. And you can learn more about FemCity. Visit FemCity.com for more content like this. Thank you so much, ladies. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Ta-da!
Love
Say
it.
ta-da!
Guys, a great week. Let us know how it goes. We want your success. We want to see you guys rock 2021. So keep in touch, and we'll see you guys back on Wednesday. Bye.
Love you all.